fight for Ukraine. New world order.
Russia.
Mm-hmm. You heard it, folks. Russia. This is oh my gosh, this is just delicious. You're going to love this. This is coming from NBC News. And
it's already delicious.
I'm going to give you this headline.
Mm-hmm. Are we whispering now? Are we NPR?
We're just going to take a short breather after we hear this headline.
Yes.
In a break with the past, U.S. is using intel to fight an info war with Russia.
Oh, an info war.
Even when the intel isn't rock solid.
What?
Say la, Gonz.
We're
Say la.
Infowar? Is that like Alex Jones? Is it Alex Jones' Infowar?
You're not taking the breath.
Oh, sorry,
in a break with the past. Okay, so they're doing something new. They've never done this before.
Yeah, forget the past.
U.S. is using intel to fight an info war with Russia.
Yeah, with Russia.
Even when the intel isn't rock solid.
Rock. So, wait, so.
Yeah, they're just lying. They're just admitting that they're lying to the American people. And to sort of psychologically manipulate Putin.
You know, if I was the editor, I would be like, yeah, why don't you leave that last little part off of the headline there? Like that. Can we just make it appear? Let's stick with the program and make it seem like we're doing something important over here.
It was an attention-grabbing assertion that made headlines around the world.
Attention-grabbing assertion, great.
U.S. officials said they had indications suggesting Russia might be preparing to use chemical agents in Ukraine. Remember that?
Not rock solid intel, yeah.
Yeah, all that rock-solid intel. President Joe Biden later said it publicly, but 3 U.S. officials told NBC News this week there is no evidence Russia has brought any chemical weapons near Ukraine. They said the U.S. released the information, so they lied to everyone. Joe Biden from the pulpit spoke untrue words to the American people to scare them into public support for going to World War III with Russia.
Dude, it's
even though there's no evidence Russia has brought any chemical weapons near Ukraine.
Well, first off, we shouldn't be surprised that a politician lied.
Well, here's the reason, because it's all about reasons. You know, it's the noble lie. They said the U.S. released the information to deter Russia from using the banned weapons.
Yeah, it's 40 chess. This is Biden's 40 chess move.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, they should. Why don't they come out and say, maybe that's what? Why don't they tell Putin? They come out and tell the American people, like, Putin is going to send us $1 million.
Blow up the moon. Can't let Putin blow up the moon.
That's right. And then when he doesn't, they'll say that their deterrence worked. I mean, remember, that's what what's his face said. Ned, the security.
Ned Price. Yeah.
He came out and said, "Hey, we're telling you this so they don't do it."
So they don't do it. Yeah.
Okay. And then they didn't do it, and he said, "Look, they didn't do it because we told you that they were going to do it." All right. It's one of a string of examples of the Biden administration's breaking with recent precedent by deploying declassified intelligence as a part of an information war against Russia. Okay. The administration has done so even when the intelligence wasn't rock solid, officials said. Now, keep in mind, they are not putting rock solid in quotes. Okay, so rock solid is not a quote. That is an editorial rhetorical
description of what this was. Yeah.
So when they're saying rock solid, they're kind of trying to imply like, we didn't vet it. Kind of there. It wasn't like rock solid, but it was there. But it's not in quotes. That is not a quote. That is NBC News trying to sort of dampen the blow while also admitting that we are just outright being lied to by the government, which we know this. But the big thing here is NBC News is sort of disclosing it. You know, it's this soft disclosure
transparency
that we have to doubt every single thing we hear from the president. And I think part of this is to normalize the idea. So, we throughout the pandemic, we were lied to constantly by Fauci, and he would later be caught in this lie, deny it, and then admit it. Okay. And I think they're figuring out that we can lie, but we need to kind of set an expectation.
It's lying with a purpose. It's not empty lies to deceive the public. It's for national security purposes.
Because believe it or not, Gonz, I know it's hard for us to believe, but believe it or not, there are people in this country that take what the president says to be true, and they trust the president and they trust the government. I know it's a crazy idea, but I'm just saying you may not know who they are, but they are around you. They're all around.
I know where they are. I know who they are. I know we're all of you.
We will hunt you down and make you pay.
That's right.
No.
That's right, Joe. We're going to come after you.
So I'm going to skip a little bit here. Observers of all stripes have called it a bold and so far successful strategy, although not one without risks. Observers of all stripes. First of all, okay. Who are these observers? It's so ridiculous.
Our elite lizard puppet masters of all stripes. The ones with the orange stripes, the pink stripes.
Observers of all stripes. Who? Just, observers. Who are the observers? There's all sorts of, they're all over the place. Don't worry about
Aliens.
it. Called it a bold and successful strategy. They're saying the president lying to our faces from the podium is a bold strategy. It's, then they make some historical
I like
comparisons.
this, though. Yeah, I like this.
You want me to read?
Just read the paragraph.
Yeah. Okay. Quote: "It's the most amazing display of intelligence it's the most amazing display of intelligence as an instrument of state power." They're talking about lying. Lying is the most amazing display of intelligence as an instrument of state power that I have seen or that I've heard since the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Whoa.
Said Tim Weiner, the author of 2006 History of the CIA and 2020's The Folly and the Glory. I'm going to read these books. A look at the U.S. I'm going to listen to these books. I don't have time to read these books. A look at the U.S.-Russia rivalry over decades. Quote, "It has certainly blunted and diffused disinformation weaponry of the Kremlin."
I like the idea. It's like, Kremlin, it's all they do is disinformation. How do we defeat the disinformation?
Exactly.
Well, what about more disinformation?
Exactly. How do we fight the disinformation? Remember, we read that whole Vice article about Putin's empire of lies?
Right.
And it is the most amazing display of intelligence as an instrument of state power is fighting lies with lies. This is great. This is like you talk about the moral certitude that the left and Biden sort of won the election on. It's all about morality, being good again.
It brings some honesty back in the white tiki house.
You've been hitting that Russian vodka thing, haven't you?
Was my coffee spiked this morning? What is going on? Go ahead.
Yeah. Here I go. 4 days before the end of
the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah, they do some Cuban Missile Crisis stuff. This week, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan stood at the White House podium and read out what officials said was more declassified intelligence, which is code we know now from this article for lies. Okay, keep that in mind. Asserting that Russia's pullout from areas around Kiev wasn't a retreat, but a strategic redeployment that signals a significant assault on eastern and southern Ukraine, one that U.S. officials believe could be a protracted and bloody fight. The idea is to preempt and disrupt the Kremlin's tactics, complicate its military campaign, undermine Moscow's propaganda, and prevent Russia from defining how the war is perceived in the world. said a Western government official familiar with the strategy. Again, yeah, he's going to lie, so we're going to lie first, is basically what they're saying.
Yeah.
Multiple U.S. officials acknowledged that the U.S. has used information as a weapon, even when confidence in the accuracy of the information wasn't high. Sometimes it has used low confidence intelligence for deterrent effect, as with chemical agents. You know, the lie that had zero evidence. That's for the deterrent effect. And other times, as an official put it, the U.S. is just, quote, trying to get inside Putin's head, which we've pointed out the many sort of psychological operations being used on Putin. Some officials believe, however, that trying to get into Putin's head is a meaningless exercise because he will do what he wants regardless. Yeah, somebody's smart over there. After this story was published, so after this story that we are reading now, they had to edit and put this in there. After this story was published, a U.S. official told NBC News that, quote, the U.S. government's effort to strategically downgrade intelligence to share with allies and the public is underpinned by a rigorous review process by the National Security Council and the intelligence community to validate the quality, blah, 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 blah. They're just saying like, oh, crap. NBC, they put out a story. They're giving it away that we're lying. Okay, quick, have them put this in there. Oh, we do it very seriously, and a review process, and there's a council, and lots of bureaucracy. So it's good. Quote, we only approve the release of intelligence if we are confident those two requirements are met. Meaning they take out they protect sources and methods. Spot on. The biggest success of the U.S. information offensive may have been delaying the invasion itself by weeks or months, with officials believe they did with accurate predictions that Russia intended to attack based on definitive intelligence. By the time Russia moved its troops in, the West presented a unified front. Before the invasion, the U.S. asserted, they're just talking, again, they're doing a nice little switcheroo here, which is, yeah, it worked, because remember, we are telling you Russia was going to attack. We told you for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then he did. So, we put out that information, and he still did it. It didn't deter him, but we think he did it later than he actually would have. And the fun part about this is, where is it? Now, let me just keep reading. Before the invasion, the U.S. asserted that Russia intended to stage a false flag attack against members of Ukraine's Russian-speaking population as a justification for war, and that the plans included a video featuring fake corpses. They're just literally giving away the sauce with crisis actors, fake corpses, and everything.
I wonder what the purpose of all of this revealing is.
Listen to this. The video never materialized. Russia has consistently claimed it was invading to protect ethnic Russians from the Nazis in Ukraine. So remember the false flag?
The false flag
jumble,
threats, and then
the false flag. They're going to do a false flag. They're going to do.
Blow up
and we're like,
school.
Wait a second. They're just admitting false flags exist, and they're talking about it on the news. Well, they say right here, yeah, that never happened. There was no false flag. We were just sort of, again, they were doing a sort of a soft disclosure of these things, normalizing the idea of false flags, normalizing the idea that we're just going to continue to lie to you, just because that's how we win. A former U.S. official and administration officials believe the strategy delayed in Putin's invasion. Now, let me jump down. Oh, yeah. Delayed Putin's invasion from the first week of January to after the Olympics, and that the delay bought the U.S. valuable time to get allies on the same page in terms of the level of the Russian threat and how to respond. We literally were just given the information a couple weeks ago that China told Russia to wait till after the Olympics. It was a deal in their endless friendship that they announced that they weren't going to interrupt the Olympics by invading. And this former U.S. official and administration officials, the Biden administration, is saying, no. It was our lies that made Russia wait till after the Olympics, not their friendship with China. et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So, it kind of goes on and on like this. There's quite a bit more of it. But they do pretty much straight up say there was one really intense. Oh, they've expanded the article since then. That's good. I didn't have it highlighted. Shoot. But there you go. I mean, we have NBC doing a wonderful job at normalizing the idea that anything we hear from Biden or the administration or the government in general is a lie, could be a lie. But, if they're lying, it's for a good reason.
It's for part of the strategy to defeat Putin.
That's how we win the war, is we lie to you, dear citizen.